Hey, this is Meridith Elliott Powell, and welcome to another episode of Thriving in Uncertainty, the show where we dive into the strategies, discuss the steps, everything that you need to know to turn all of this uncertainty into your competitive advantage. And I am excited today because my guest is none other than the head guru of Sales IQ, Luigi Prestinenzi. Welcome.
Hey, how you doing, Meredith? Thanks for
Did I butcher your last name right there?
Yeah, perfect. So many people might get it wrong, but you did it so well.
All right. Well, it is 6 a.m. in Australia, and you have been at it since 3:30 this morning, helping people around the world handle their sales and strategy problems. But tell our listeners just a little bit about you. And I've got to tell you, before you do, your podcast is my favorite podcast. So I want you to talk a little bit about your podcast as well.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for it's awesome to get such feedback from somebody that I've admired and listened to for so long. But a bit about me, I'm a proud sales professional, having spent the majority of my career. Lucky I found my way in selling because I wasn't very good at school. So, started selling from a young age and built my career in B2B sales, from actually putting together large complex deals, multi-million dollar deals, through to running my own sales team across the country, and then moving across to the B2C world where I manage an omni-channel sales force across door-to-door, contact center, kiosk sales. And that was probably the best transition of my life because I learned the full cycle of both B2B and B2C. And there are so many crossovers. And I think for every B2B professional, they should make the jump into B2C and vice versa because the learning is amazing. There's such a debate around, B2B selling is different to B2C when actually there's so many similarities, and there's so many strategies and tactics that you can apply from both ends of the selling world. So, yeah, and I started the podcast because obviously listening to various other podcasts, I just wanted to be creative on my own and find my own voice and just help sellers be the best they can be. And that's my ultimate objective. I just want to elevate the sales professional and help as many sellers be the best they can be.
So it sort of takes me, I love the fact that you're talking about B2B and B2C, because I feel the same way. I mean, I remember when I got started in it, it was like, you should only sell B2B or you should only sell B2C. When you look at it, you should really take advantage of all the markets and all the opportunity that's out there. But when you got started in it and you started in B2B, what kind of woke you up to the fact that you should get into the B2C market, or that there wasn't that much difference?
Yeah, it's funny. I'll give you a very, very quick story. I was putting together corporate training solutions. And the bigger the deal I got, because of the type of role that I had, I just wanted to continue to get bigger and bigger deals. And average sales cycle was kind of, in the company I was at, that was sort of 6 to 12 months. And I was managing to get the process to sale quicker and quicker, 6 months, 5 months, 4 months. And then one day, I actually got a deal completed within about 2 weeks. And at that point, when the deal was completed, I didn't get the buzz. That buzz you get when you close a deal, right? It's just an awesome feeling. It's not about the commission. For any true sales professional, you just get this insane buzz that you've created something out of nothing. It was a cold call at the meeting. I didn't get the buzz. And then I realized, I need to change what I'm doing because I'm not challenging myself anymore. I'm not building my capability. I've become on autopilot. And so that's when I decided to make a change in my career and move into an entirely different field and selling a different product and selling to the consumer. And I ultimately took a step back in my career. I dropped the role. I was executive general manager, and I decided to drop to be under somebody else so I could learn from them. And it was the best. It was the best experience of my life. You couldn't pay for a course that would teach you that. It was literally, some would say you're going backwards, but, I went 10 steps forward. So that was a pivotal point in my career where my capability just went through the roof after that.
So when you think of now, take us back to the beginning of COVID. I mean, you're in Australia. You all really went on lockdown. So here we are selling kind of traditionally, and our whole world changed in a matter of a week or 2 weeks, whatever time frame was. What do you think the biggest challenges have been for salespeople? And then I'm going to ask you, what are some of the things that you see that are working out there right now? But where are sales professionals still stumbling right now in an uncertain marketplace?
I think the reality is I was actually in America when COVID hit. I was in LA. I had to rush home. It was chaos. And I think after that initial period of, it was kind of everybody was reacting. Companies were reacting all over. People didn't know what to expect. And so from my perspective, I think, what's changed is after a period of time, there was a bit of a rhythm. Most businesses got a bit of a rhythm.
Yeah.
I think the sellers that really did well and have continued to do well are the ones that have had the right mindset, in that there are things that they cannot control, but there are many things that they can control. And that's one of the things that I had to learn as well, was that, hey, we were stuck at home for months and months on end. And there were things that I was focusing on at one point, which were completely out of my control. And that was impacting the things that were in my control. So I had to quickly make a decision to say, right, I have to just focus on what's in my control. And so I think the sellers that have been quite successful are the ones that have said, okay, if my pipeline has dropped, I need to increase my pipeline. I need to increase the amount of conversations. I need to increase my work ethic. I need to get more productive. I can't be working from home, because I found that at one point I was working longer hours but getting less done, right? Back-to-back Zooms, not giving myself preparation in between calls. So again, I think it comes down to a mindset perspective. And the minute I decided to make that shift personally, to say, right, I can't control what our politicians are doing. I can't control what's happening in the market. But I tell you what I can control. I can control my routine. I can control what I'm reading each day, what I'm listening to each day, the people that I talk to each day. And for me, as soon as I had that realization last year, I started to see an increase in performance and productivity again. So, and I think that's the biggest learning from this. It's that, there's always things. This is what I love about selling. There are so many things that happen outside of our control, right? And you can't control what customers do, right? But we can control how we react and how we manage ourselves.
Yeah, I think about the fact that success just isn't logical. Like it doesn't make any sense why some people succeed and some people don't, but it really does come down to what you focus on. And, you work a lot in omni-channel. And how do you think, I was thinking about this morning because I was driving back from a doctor's appointment, and I was thinking, I started off making sales calls today, but the sales calls I made today, I did the old fashioned way. I was literally sending handwritten notes, because I'm trying so many different avenues to reach people, in my follow-up system. What do you think has changed in sales today? And what has sort of surprised you that's working?
I think obviously, like with the introduction of email and, we've got LinkedIn, and I think it's become a very noisy marketplace. There are so many channels that you can engage in. I was speaking to a group yesterday, and, there's Telegram, there's WhatsApp, there's so many different channels that people are engaging in comparison to, say, 10 years ago or 15 years ago. I actually got something in the mail yesterday. And I think, it's just about I think the opportunity right now from a channel perspective is you've got to be testing. You've got to be looking at, right, doesn't just because something has changed in the last 5 years and we're using LinkedIn or some of these social channels more, that we should ignore some of the previous channels that have worked in the past, right? I think we should constantly be looking back and constantly be trying things that you might have stopped. Because again, I got something in the mail yesterday, and that was gold. Like there is 100%. I'm going to be speaking to him today, and again, like we were not enough people are utilizing, like mail out stuff. And I think from a differentiation perspective, there's a great opportunity there to do something a little bit different than what everybody else is doing. The other thing I think we forget, and a lot of sellers, I think with the new aged kind of sales model of breaking down the sales process into key roles, a lot of sellers are forgetting that the fundamentals of selling is actually really simple and hasn't changed since since some of the early books that I've read from Monk Mandino. And you look at Napoleon Hill and Earl Nightingale, the preachings that they had put out, that sales is about creating a form of value. There needs to be an exchange of value before a transaction takes place. And I think we don't put enough focus on creating some form of value for our buyer before they engage with us. And we're not earning the right to get a seat at the table or a seat at the Zoom virtual meeting. And I think if what's changed, I don't think there's a lot that's changed in that. If we spend a bit more time thinking about how we can create some value, there's a differentiation strategy right there. There's an opportunity for sellers to go, let me stop thinking about how do I prospect or how do I get the meeting or how do I make a sale. Let me think about the market that I'm trying to serve and how can I create some value for that market, and then how can I use that value to engage with them, whether they buy from me or not. And that, 9 out of 10 sellers are not doing right now.
Yeah, I think you said something very key right there, though. You said, let me create some value whether they buy from me or not. I mean, you're just creating that value in the marketplace. It's about investing in people before you ask them to invest in you. But the interesting thing I think about that, Luigi, is what I've always found in sales, and I've been in this business for a long time now. I've ridden a lot of really great economies and definitely some challenges. COVID is the biggest challenge I've ever ridden in my lifetime, but I've definitely, tried to sell loans in a time when interest rates were at 21%. I mean, we had the dot-com bust of the early 2000s and things. Is that I feel like we, as salespeople, we go back and forth between just being order takers and then being shocked when the economy shifts and you have to sell. When the economy is really good, like as we just came off in 2018 and 2019, you almost didn't have to create a ton of value because even if you weren't that good at it, you were going to do some level of business because the economy's moving, everybody's buying. But it's when the economy tightens up that you have to go back to these strategies that really are the fundamentals of sales.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, right? Like I'm trying to, I'm in the market at the moment to buy another house, and right now in our market, the housing industry is booming, right? It's just I can't understand it, but everybody seems to be buying a house at the right time. Property prices are going crazy, and calling real estate agents, and I'm getting, they don't answer the call, and I'm getting a text back saying, on a call, text me your name and number, please. Not even please, just text me your name and number. Or what property you're calling about. Like they're kind of forgetting the fact that they've got to create a level of experience and service. Now it's okay right now, given the market is so active. But when that changes, they're going to be trying to think about, well, what I need to do to engage with my buyer more. Now, in saying that, there's somebody else that's got market share where I live. And I've had a relationship with them for some time, and their experience process hasn't changed. Good or bad market, they always exceed the customer's expectations, right? They respond in a timely fashion. Like they're amazing. And it's the reason why regardless of the market, they're the number one in the market.
Yeah.
And so again, I think from what you're saying is the shift in the market shouldn't change the way in which we sell. There should be a minimum from a customer experience that we're trying to create. And again, I think that's what B2C have done well in the past, like great businesses that have marketed well in the B2C environment, think about the experience. And sometimes B2B forget that. They forget that they've still got to create an experience. Just because we're proactively reaching out to a prospect who's not looking for our service or solution, we need to create an experience. Even for if they're coming to a landing page and we're trying to do inbound, we still need to think about what is that experience we're trying to create for them. And that's where I think there's a good crossover from B2C to B2B, is that customer experience aspect.
What I love what you just said, in the fact that there should be a minimum level of experience.
Yeah.
I think every listener really needs to grab that, because when the economy is good, you tend to think you don't need people, or when your industry is hot. But you have to understand, I mean, that's the tip of uncertainty, right? Is that it's going to change. You're going to ride ups, you're going to ride downs. And the people who come through the downs are the people who have had that level of expectation. My husband and I have just been selling a piece of commercial property and going to buy another piece of commercial property. And we sold the one piece. We were dealing with a couple of agents. We bought from one agent. The agent that didn't get the deal called us and said, congratulations, glad you found something, glad, they were able to sell it for you at that price. If I can ever do anything for you in the future, let us know. Well, we turned around and we wanted to take that money and buy another piece of property. Again, we had two agents looking at it. And this one who had said, congratulations, we ended up buying the second piece of property from him.
Yeah.
Because he didn't get mad when he didn't get the deal. He laid the groundwork to keep the door open for more opportunity. And I think that sometimes salespeople forget this is a long game, a long relationship. Just because you lose one sale doesn't mean you won't get other sales. But how you act when you lose really sets the tone for what you're going to get in the future. Because the other agent that didn't get the second deal blessed us out, like was really, really mad at us, which is fine. But they'll never get another piece of commercial business from us ever again, nor a referral. And it isn't a transaction. It's a long-term relationship, and you're going to win some and you're going to lose some.
It's such an interesting concept, right? Because I think the other thing is you might lose that transaction or that opportunity, but that doesn't mean you'll shut the door on further opportunities from that particular prospect or potential buyer. And I think that's one of the learnings that I experienced early on, is that even if somebody chose not to buy from me then, they could potentially refer me to other people, even if they haven't bought. Because, and that again, I was taught the art of referral, asking for referrals early on in my career. And that was probably the best piece of advice that I could ever have got in my sales career. And even prospects who chose not to buy, we would ask for referrals. Because if we delivered a superior experience and we went above and beyond, then it's okay to ask for referrals if we know that we could help someone, right? And that's that mindset mentality. And I think there's one thing that Jeffrey Gittermore, in one of his books, that always stood out was, don't aim to make a sale, aim to create a customer. Because that means they're going to repeatedly buy off you. So, and some of the best referrals I got was from people that didn't buy.
You're right.
So
because people really watch how you act in the moment, and how you act in the conversation. Yeah. How much of this, here we all are, dealing on Zoom, and we don't know how much longer this is all going to go on. How much of this do you think sticks? How much do you think we'll go back to some of the traditional going to conventions, seeing each other's at trade shows? Or how much of this do you think will stick? Will it be one or the other? Will it be a combination?
I think, look, I haven't seen any stats on this. Obviously, I think this whole Zoom experience or this virtual has not been foreign, because obviously I've been running meetings personally overseas, from where I'm at for some time. So it wasn't a major transition for me. But I think, look, I can't wait to get back on the road, to be honest. I used to travel a lot. It's actually 1 year since I haven't traveled, so that's been quite massive. I'm praying they let me keep my platinum status, but I haven't traveled as much. But I tell you, like, nothing beats sort of, I'm running virtual workshops for 20, 30, 50 people, and nothing beats that experience inside a room where you can engage. People just don't shut off their screen. Like, I don't think the learning is as powerful as what it would like being in a room. It's just like, I've got a client in LA that they've onboarded, I think, 40 sellers this year.
Yeah.
And they're all remotely onboarding, and they go hyper-growth startup. But, they're missing out. Sellers are missing out. When you're in the same room or the same office environment, you're hearing different talk tracks. You're hearing how people respond to objections. You're hearing how people deal with rejection. There are so many things that you can learn in the environment with other sellers. I know I did. I worked in a contact center, 17 years old. There was 80 people on the phone. You learn so much about sitting next to others. And I think that's such a vital, you can't recreate that.
Yeah.
Or what I've seen in a virtual environment. So I think at some point there has to be a hybrid model, right? I know some companies have said, hey, we're not going to go, we're going to, allow people to work from home more, which I think is a good thing. I'm a single full-time father. So that flexibility, I think, for other people in my position is fantastic. But I think there's a sense of community, a sense of belonging. There are so many, like, we're humans, like it's part of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We need interaction with others, right? We need that. So I think at some point there's going to be a point where we're going to come back. I mean, we've got Outbound later this year, and I would do anything to be there in person, because the experience I had, in 2019 when I met you, Meridith, the experience I had there was just insane. And I've done some virtual keynotes. I've been part of some virtual keynotes, and as much as great as it is, it's not the same.
Yeah, it's not
the same, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's there is something about that. I mean, Zoom's been great because at least we've been able to continue to see each other and connect that way. But there isn't anything like being with people in person, going to get a cup of coffee, having that conversation. It is hard to believe, but we are coming to the end of this podcast. I always have two questions that I ask at the end. One is, you've got to tell everybody how to get a hold of you and how they can find out about the Sales IQ podcast. The other is, what is your best piece of advice for any sales professionals, business owners out there struggling to figure out how to make it in an uncertain marketplace?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think the best piece of advice is be empowered by the opportunity that's in front of you. Is that regardless of what's happened in the past or the experience that you've had, know that, the opportunity, there is an opportunity. We do live in a world of abundance, and it needs to be a mindset, like a shift of mindset. So if you've had a poor experience over the last 6, 12, 3 months, mindset first. You need to change the mindset before your results will actually change. That for me has always been, whenever my results have not been where I needed to be, I had to change the way I looked at things. And when I changed the way I looked at things, the outcome was very different. So that's my first piece of advice, is focus on the mindset and know that we do live in a world of abundance, but we have to actually, focus on our mindset. So that's probably the first thing. And the second thing is, like, just trust in the process. So, and go back to the fundamentals. So many people try new things when things aren't working well, but you know what? Sales and marketing is a very simplistic process. And we try to overcomplicate it when things aren't going well. Like, just go back to the basics, go back to the fundamentals, because the fundamentals have worked since before currency was created, when people traded, hay for milk.
Right.
The fundamentals always work. And I think we spend too much time trying to make the simple complex. So that's my piece of advice. That's what's helped me generate some pretty good results in my career and my clients. So, and how to find me, LinkedIn, just connect with me on LinkedIn. That would be great. And my podcast, the Sales IQ podcast. I'm pretty creative. I try to add my own personality and my intensity into that podcast. So I have a Monday mindset, which is a quick 5-minute sort of, energy hype. And then I interview incredible guests like yourself, Meridith. I need to get you on because the last time we had bandwidth issues. Talking about all things sales and learning and capability improvement.
It is. Everybody really needs to listen to the Sales IQ podcast. I just love it. I listen to it all the time. Every time you put a new episode out, you have really great guests. You cover really great topics. And I love what you said about, it's go back to the fundamentals. They've been working forever. I just did a keynote recently and somebody said, could you give us a magic bullet? And I said, I can make one up, but there is no magic bullet when it comes to sales. It is just about doing these things and doing it consistently, and and not expecting a quick return on investment. That it's a methodical process, and if you do the right things over and over again, the momentum builds, and sales just starts to come into you. But I really want to thank you for being our guest here today. I really want to encourage everybody to reach out, find Luigi on LinkedIn. Definitely listen to his podcast. It is well worth your investment. And thank you again for joining us for another episode of Thriving in Uncertainty, the show where we discuss everything that you need to know to turn all of this change into your competitive advantage. We'll see you next week with another guest. See you next time.